What's going on, y'all? It's your girl B Octavia, and I am back with another video. Now, if this is your first time watching me, what's going on? My name is B Octavia. I'm from Washington, D.C., and I'm 27 years old. Today, we will be discussing the accidental shooting death of a D.C. police officer. This officer has been a member of the MPD for over 25 years. This unfortunate situation happened August 29th when Officer Wayne David saw someone get out of a suspicious vehicle. The individual took off on foot, then jumped onto Interstate 295. Before fleeing on the back of a motorcycle on Interstate 295, the individual threw a gun down a storm drain. Officer Wayne David seen exactly where the individual slash suspect threw the gun, and he was trying to get the gun out of the storm drain when the gun went off. That bullet struck Officer Wayne David in the head. He was rushed to a local hospital where he died from his injuries. Thursday, September the 12th, was his funeral, and I must say, his brothers in blue sent him off in a very special way. And although the manner of his death was determined to be accidental, a lot of people are confused by the suspect being charged in connection with the officer's death. I knew it was coming. A lot of people are blaming the victim and saying, well, it was his fault that he went to go retrieve the weapon, even though it is a part of his job. And because he's so seasoned, he could have sent a rookie to do it, if you want to be real. It says a lot that he went to retrieve it himself. And I wanted to make this video and in hopes that it helps people in the future from not making things worse. A lot of people in DC and in my generation have a mentality of, I didn't do nothing, or he didn't do nothing wrong. Especially when a person has been charged with something very serious like a felony. Where he went wrong was running from the police. With all of the CCTV cameras all throughout the city, the only thing the police gotta do is put out the still shots of you running and attach a reward to it for information. Your own family will give up your name and location. Let's be real. New details are trickling out after the individual in connection turned himself in. Speaking of CCTV cameras, police were able to see his entire route, even down to the minute he lost his right shoe climbing a wall. Here's the shoe. Here's the young man running with one shoe on his left foot. And here's the gun that went off. It's a Smith & Wesson .40 caliber handgun. And go figure, the serial number is scratched off. A day after the incident, a witness came forward telling detectives that he had unknowingly assisted 27-year-old Tyrell Bailey in fleeing the scene of a crime. He identified himself as the driver of the motorcycle shown here. According to the driver, Tyrell was yelling he had been robbed and that people were trying to kill him. At that point, he ditched his other shoe. Only wearing socks, the driver believed him and drove T. Bailey to the 7-Eleven on Kenilworth Avenue. He ended up making several calls on the driver's phone. He also wanted the driver to drop him off at a different location. They refused and got up out of there. And it wasn't until later that the witness saw on Instagram that an officer had been killed and that the suspect fled on a motorcycle matching their own. The suspect did turn himself in a few days after the shooting occurred, which is a great thing. And because he got away so fast, he probably didn't know until he looked at the news or people were sending it to him that the officer even got struck by the gun that he threw. I wanted to make this video as well because when I was initially reading it and the details got clearer and clearer, this situation screams manslaughter. Whether it ends up being voluntary or involuntary manslaughter is to be decided, right? But I don't believe that the suspect's intent was to hurt the officer or any officer at all, right? But the decision that he made to drop the gun, it could have dropped just simply on the concrete, not in the storm drain. It would have been the same situation of a misfire, of a malfunction. Why? Because you threw it down with a certain force. Depending on the condition of the gun prior to that, you know, those hot guns that be flooding the streets and people just be sharing and stuff like that. If it didn't happen to that officer, it could have happened to the person that was actually toting it around. It was only a matter of time. You know, maybe he threw it down there thinking, hoping, and wishing that the cop didn't see it get thrown down there, and perhaps he wanted to retrieve it later. But don't nobody know when a freak accident gonna happen. And that officer clearly was on top of his as far as keeping you in his sight, to the point where he was updating dispatch as he went, as a seasoned officer does. It's truly a blessing that the officer seen the gun being thrown down there, because that could have been a child. That could have very well been a child that discovered that gun, and then there's another child in the District of Columbia dead because of the negligence of my generation. If you 27 years old and you are a young man, you gotta be doing some type of trade or something. You have to be working and to keep your mind focused and stay out the streets physically, because things like this will happen and you never know what type of blessing it is to be locked up on something serious. Because if you were still out in the streets, I mean, it's guys getting killed left and right. And that's not, I'm not mentioning folks who have certain circumstances where they come in contact with police. I'm talking about black on black crime. I'm talking about young men killing other young men. There's a lot of young men that are locked up right now that would be dead today had they not got locked up. So it's a certain way to look at it. I mean, you should know at that age too that the streets ain't no fun. The streets is not no fun, and things like this don't just happen to anybody. It happens for a reason. And I'm saying that on the suspect's part and not so much as the officer. Nobody in this whole equation had intent for any officer to die. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure of that, but that doesn't mean that it isn't manslaughter. That doesn't mean that to some degree he will not have to pay for his actions in the scenario. I was under an Instagram page who basically puts out all the stories of what's going on in DC. Really good Instagram. I'll put it up here on the screen. It's always somebody who just begs to differ. And while that is okay, you have to make it make sense. I discuss what I feel is going to happen with a particular scenario, and because they don't see it like that, they feel like they want to change my mind and make excuses for a person who, you'd be wrong to say their actions didn't cause the end result. And the end result was the ending of this well-seasoned officer's life. My community and DC is lacking accountability, and it starts and it ends with the community. If people of the community are saying, well, this isn't fair and that's not fair and he shouldn't be charged with that, but if that officer was any kin to you, you would feel differently. So you can't be biased. At the end of the day, a wife has lost her husband, his children have lost their father, and his partners, the people that he worked alongside, the list goes on and on. It's going to be a lot of people that miss him. And he was doing his job. And there's no way around that. I think that when people, they try to put themselves in a situation and they end up saying things that are so biased because they wouldn't want to be in that situation. They're like, wait, it's not his fault. In the eyes of the law, it is. And his actions did cause the death of another person. That is described to be a form of manslaughter. So, of course, of what I do, I will be giving you guys updates. I will probably wait until, the final decision of what it's going to be. If this guy will plead guilty or not guilty or what have you. And what the concrete charges are going to end up being, because everything is still pending and fresh. So it's no telling. But until then, I will be back to you guys on a more consistent basis. Y'all know Bella just started school, and off rip, I should have known. Off rip, she had got a little cough and then transferred it to me, and my bronchitis just was not letting me live. But I am feeling a lot better now, so the consistency is coming back, okay? I love y'all. Thank y'all for 14,000. Thank y'all for so much love, positivity, encouragement. I hope y'all are having a great day. And I hope y'all have a great night, a great sleep, all that. And keep it positive, and we shall prosper.